I hope your bank balance is looking pretty healthy, because today we're going to be talking about CW111, the most expensive Corydoras in the world. Hello, welcome to another video from Planet Corydoras. My name's Tim. Today we are going to be talking about this beautiful species, the CW111, one of the collector's favourite and probably the most expensive fish out there. So let's kick off. Here we are in one of our group members' tanks, which consists of a group, I think, of around 6 or 7 individuals in total. As you can see at the minute, they're very excitable species, but a beautiful species that look at their gorgeous fins, their patterns, just a very, very striking Corydoras. In the video, we're going to be going through some of their behaviours, their spawnings, their locations, how to raise them, and just general chat in regards to the Corydoras as well. Just like many other species, the CW111 definitely likes to have a good substrate. So try and aim to have some sort of natural river sand as best you can. That's what they're used to in the wild, so would thoroughly recommend that. Here we are, some beautiful younger juveniles on a great bed of sand there as well. These are a few months old now and are doing exceptionally well in the tank, as you can see. There's a better pan shot here of one of the grow out tanks that they're all being placed in. So you can see there's a lot in there. So these guys do like to breathe. There's no two doubts around that. And those lucky enough to have them often report that sort of behaviour, but there's a lot of breathing behaviour happening. You can see they definitely enjoy a good flow in their tank as well. So we have a few, if you have a pump or a wave maker and something in there, that's definitely something they like, and not one would like to be in a very sort of stagnated and slow moving water. So where do these species come from? Well, they're in Brazil, as you'd probably imagine, off one of the tributaries in the off the Amazon. I won't try and butcher the name, but this is the river here, just sort of flowing north, or from the north to the Amazon. It's a very difficult area to get to, and one of the reasons why these aren't really imported in. You can see here one of the main rivers. I would suspect that they probably don't live in such a big river as that, probably off some of the smaller tributaries off there. So those importers who are able to get hold of them, very lucky, but they've only recently been taken off the sort of banned species list to be imported. That's one of the reasons why they've been so difficult to get hold of. The ones which are in a lot of the hobby at the minute came in before that sort of ban, or when they were first discovered a few years ago. And so a lot of these, which you will see or lucky enough to maybe find, will be captive bred rather than wild caught at this time anyway, although I think that will begin to change in the not too distant future. Here we're seeing some good sort of playing behaviour, sort of thinking about getting into spawning mode. So the reason obviously that they are so expensive, and to give you an idea, these are currently costing around about £500 in the UK. It's 2021 at the minute, so that might change over time. I think it will change now that they're breeding so well in the hobby, but they obviously are in such high demand. And remember, you want to keep a group of 6 like you do with all the other Corydoras. So when you're talking £500 per fish, that's quite an expensive fish tank right there you've got. So only really the serious hobbyists will probably have these or can afford these when they put so much in, and obviously they'll try and breed them to sell on to recoup some of their money as well. So just something to bear in mind. This is a great picture of one of the females in this tank. In fact, I think there's only one in this tank which is of the right age to spawn. I think there's another younger one in there, but she's the only female, and you can see how ripe she is there with the male. The male is very distinctive when they're in breeding sort of time of the year. Their dorsal fin, it just extends hugely, and actually the one in this picture, I've seen them much higher than that as well. And then as they go out of the breeding season, they will naturally begin to sort of reduce in height again. But you can see my friend who owns these fish is really got them well fed. Lots of live food, I'm told, is the key, as with many Corydoras as well. So that triggers them. Now what you can see, the female's going around cleaning a lot of leaves here. That's a very good sign that she's just looking for spots where she could lay an egg when she has received the sperm from the male. So good nose around the tank. And as also you can see at the minute, the others in the group aren't really getting involved. It's just probably really more the two dominant individuals in the tank. You can see that my friend has also some cherry shrimp in there. They're always very good to help clean the tank and to also clean eggs and so forth as well. So that's something else I always recommend to everyone. Keep cherry shrimp in your tank. Just dancing in the waves at the minute. So other things to think about parameter wise for these guys is the tanks at 25 degrees Celsius, pH is around 7.8, and the TDS is around 80 to 85. So very good quality water there. Doing a weekly water change of around 50%. They're in 110 litre in this breeding tank at this time as well, so it gives you an idea. Just make sure you've got a lot of current up for the flow. Plants are always useful in a tank, so make sure you have some moss or anubis, something like that. They definitely like to lay their eggs on the back side of the leaves. Spawning mop in there as well, as you can see floating around. So you look for anything you can to try and collect those eggs on. So the fish in here, I think, were originally bought as juveniles, probably about a year before they started, maybe a bit less, maybe 10 months before they started actually spawning. So it gives you an idea that probably from a young age to actually the beginning of spawning time is around about a year in time frame, and so slightly longer. But that's pretty good and pretty common actually for many Corydoras. Some will go much longer than that. So these aren't too bad for that. So we've got a few more individuals now getting a bit more interested in the behaviour. When they will spawn, they are looking at anywhere between 80 and 140 eggs in any one session, and they can keep going over that period for sort of 6 to 10 days. So they might not be finished, think they're finished, but actually they're probably still going over a few days. So in that time frame, say 80 to 140 eggs, my friend has recorded. But as they're young individuals, what you will also find is the fertilization rate is quite low. And again, very common with lots of Corydoras. Their first couple of tries, it just seems that they're not too experienced and know exactly what they're doing. So we've experienced sort of 30% fertilization rate but as they're getting older, the males are maturing in particular, that's sort of more going up to 50%, which is again is pretty good. Over a whole sort of season, these guys are producing around about 1,000 eggs per female, which is, you know, really good. So if you've got 500 which are hatching, obviously you've got to bear in mind that you're going to lose a few through that. That's still a really good success rate. So another reason why I think these individuals will start coming down in price. So they're more accessible as general hobbyists. And just have to make sure we try and keep the genetics as clean as possible for them. You don't want to have too much inbreeding, so it is good to swap around between different groups as well, every sort of couple of generations, to make sure we've got some new genetics being fed into the gene pool. What's something we've noticed is maybe perhaps a bit unusual with this species is they do tend to go and sort of nose around under leaves, or where they are going to lay their eggs, and give it a good clean. And then once they actually have then laid their eggs there, the male quite often seems to go back and try and re-fertilize the eggs. They do use the normal T position like any other Corydoras, but they do seem to keep going back there and looking like that's what they're doing. Whether they actually are or not is very difficult for us to tell, but it's definitely something we've noticed in their behaviour. Breeding season for these guys seems to be around the December sort of time frame. You'll start seeing those dorsal fins extending, so you know they're getting in the moon ready for that. So that's when you want to really start upping up their intake of live food as well. But really, these guys, from what everyone tells me, are really quite straightforward to trigger, very similar to many other species. What I'll also do is in the description field, I'll put in a link to my friend whose fish these belong to his Instagram. I know he'd like people to look and follow. He's got some beautiful pictures and close-ups of these Corydoras for you to go and have a look at. So please go and take a look, and also please remember to subscribe to the channel. There we go. I think we just have our first egg land on that one, so very excitable species. Look at that, wonderful behaviour. We're all chasing around now by the males. Make sure you join up to our Planet groups on Facebook. There's a wealth of information, and check out our website. We've got so many good things for you to look at to get other hints and tips, and if you've got sick fish and so forth, it's all up there for everyone to consume free of charge. It's all about expanding the hobby. That's what we're trying to do, and make everyone appreciate how great this species here, the CW111, and Corydoras in general as well. What I do tend to refer to these guys with their number, CW111. And for those who don't know, that's because they haven't yet been recognised by science, so they've been given like a catalogue number. That's why I would describe it until the scientists get around to describing them in detail and confirm that they're not actually another species or something like that. I'm pretty sure these guys aren't, but it does take a lot of time. There's so many undescribed species out there. That's why I refer to them as that. They do have the common name of the Vulcan cory. I don't like to use that, although I have to say it's a pretty cool one as far as common names go. As far as other tank mates and things like that, we talked about the cherry shrimp being in there, but you know, like all Corydoras, they're pretty easygoing fish, and you won't have any problems with them. It's the other fish actually causing problems for the Corydoras is the issue. They really won't touch anything else in there. I have huge colonies of shrimps in my tank, and I've yet to see one ever touch a young shrimp, you know, let alone a full-size adult. They will, though, of course, if the shrimp has died or something like that, they will naturally go have a bit of a munch on them, but they will definitely not ever attack. There's not a bad bone in their body. I hope you're all enjoying sort of just watching these guys dance around. I know I do. I'm fascinated by watching them. I think it's great entertainment and very relaxing. Very definitely if you want to just relax and enjoy yourself after a hard day's work. These sort of species, I think, make it all worthwhile. And when you're seeing behaviour like this as well, it's just great. Everyone always thinks Corydoras are always sat on the bottom doing nothing. Well, that's just not true. Don't get me wrong. They will sometimes sit on the bottom and just be having a rest. They're not going to be darting around like this all day long, but it's lovely to see that sort of behaviour. I'd love to know if you do have any questions in regards to this species or any other species. So again, feel free to leave any comments below or let us know on the Facebook group sites. There's a lot of people there who are happy to help you. But let me know what other videos you'd like to see. You know, I can carry on doing species spotlights on all the different Corydoras out there. I'm very lucky that there's so many members of the group which have so many different species for which I can gain footage of to share with you like this. So yeah, let us know. And you know, if you want to know more things around filtration, medication, we can do all those sorts of things. You know, take a look at some of the ones we've done already. We did a great one around salt using salt for Corydoras to help them with different sorts of elements. So yeah, feel free to check those out as well. Very informative. This video is more about the beauty of this specific species. See how interested they are in those leaves just floating there at the top. They're all thinking, yeah, this is a good spot right here. What they'll do is once Corydoras have actually sort of mated, they go into this T-shaped position, and the thought out there is that they pass the sperm across to the female in that sort of T shape, and then the female lays her eggs, and the sperm sort of somehow sort of funnels down to where her eggs are between her pelvic fins, and you'll see them once that's happened. They'll be clutched together within those pelvic fins, and they'll then look to drop them around the tank. There you go, you've got a T position right there, right now. That's exactly what's happening. So the female sort of got her mouth sort of somewhere near him, and now she sort of they tend to go quite sort of docile while that sort of happens, and eggs will sort of be popping out. I think you might just be able to see them now in her dorsal fins. So that's when the fertilization is happening. and then she will sort of come out of her trance and go off and lay the eggs. There she goes. But they can take a long time to choose where they want to lay their eggs. I've seen that before. I've been watching the camera for a good 10-20 minutes and they still haven't decided actually where they want to put them. But there you go. She obviously likes that leaf right there. That's the one. That's the spot. So very happy with that place. Yeah, you can just sort of make them out. They're very clear initially and you can't tell whether they're fertilized or not at that point. After a sort of maybe 12 hours or so, they'll start to darken, the ones which are fertilized, and the ones which go quite white looking are the ones which aren't fertile, and you want to remove those straight away. What we then do is put them into a little sort of floating ring within the tank, and they will then get all the oxygenation that they need to try and fight off any fungus. If you've got them in a separate box, then you might want to use something like methylene blue to help kill off any fungus as well. And then once they hatch, then it's a case about feeding them lots of live food, just as you would with any other Corydoras. You know, a lot of the micro worms, that sort of stuff, are key really at those young stages. And then it's off to a grow out tank, small one at first, and you're going to see a real nice young one there at the minute. Its belly's nice and full. You can see it's slightly got a red glow to it, but you can see how the parents, you know, once the fries reach that sort of size, they're not going to touch them whatsoever. They're only sort of maybe vulnerable at the very, very early stages, and that's not because they're actively hunting them down. They just literally might be near its mouth when it's looking for a nice tasty bite, like you can see in this tank at the minute. I think those are either blackcomb or tubifix, not sure which. And here's one of the big grow out tanks. Look how many we've got in there now. So fantastic species, and here they are a little bit bigger further down the line as well. This is another one of our admins from the site, his fish, so different grouping together. You can see the markings ever so slightly different, so you sort of wonder if there may be some variation perhaps between these fish. Maybe one's caught further up the river rather than the base, or maybe there's even some subspecies in there as well. So, you know, some sort of variation, but you can see they're the same species in all fact. So even my friends' species that are here are very, very active. You know, always rooting around. It can sense there's a little worm there at the front and going for it, trying to dig it out. This is where personally I would recommend having sand in this tank. Naturally, it'll be able to dig through, and it'll be after that worm is shot when you're dealing with this type of substrate. Although I don't think it's so bad for their barbels compared to some. They'll struggle to do their sort of filtration type eating through this, but that's my opinion. My friend is keeping these very successfully, so I'll let him carry on with his way of keeping. So we're coming up towards the end of the video now. I hope you enjoyed just watching this beautiful species behaviour, learning a little bit about them, some of their different requirements, but in general actually reasonably easy fish to keep. It's just getting your hands on them is the problem. You know, I'm all for breeding these in the hobby and then sharing them around so that the price does come down. We want everyone to be able to enjoy the species, so you know, I really encourage that sort of friendly behaviour between our other hobbyists to share fish. I do that with all of my fish. Whenever I have any young, I will always look to share them out as best we can. So please leave any comments, please join our groups, please let us know what other videos you'd like to see, and I hope you have enjoyed this video. I will just leave it running for another couple of minutes so you can watch this fish to the end. Thank you very much.